This is Ark Survival Ascended. We're here on PlayStation 5 Pro. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is one of those games that I really wanted to try out on the PlayStation 5 Pro. It's something I've had on my mind for a while because I really want to see how this game runs with a little bit more overhead power to it. Ark is a game that is infamous for never running well on any platform, and when we finally got it kind of running smooth on the current gen consoles, they went ahead and remade it with the magic of Unreal Engine 5. And yeah, the game looks really, really good, but the performance for the game is really, really bad. And it's a bit better on the PS5 Pro, but it's still not great. So you can see that on the right hand side we have the little frame rate in-game test marker. So this is with the frame gen on, and I don't know, people were claiming there was more frame gen upgrades. If there is some sort of wild update for that, I'm sure I'll jump back in to do another video on it. We're going to be taking a look at a different selection of the maps that have been remade thus far, and giving you an idea of how the game looks. So with the PS5 Pro overhead, it does look like we're getting about 52 FPS in a good situation. It does drop, depending on the scenario, down to like 30 FPS, and this is with all the visual settings on. You can, of course, turn things off, like certain atmospherics and clouds and stuff like that, and you could potentially get a higher frame rate, but we're showing off the game as of a regular out-of-the-box. You come in, you play the game, and you enjoy it. And yeah, it's not great, but it is running a bit better. Like 10 FPS better or more. 10 to 20, let's say. On average, kind of better frame rate for this game. It still tanks, it still can go really down if you have like crazy amounts of structures going on, you're in lots of dinos in one spot. Obviously your mileage is going to vary, and depending on how you go through the game. So it is Unreal Engine 5, good old UE5 going on. It's a 4K resolution, quote unquote, but it's more like 1440p kind of target and temporarily scaling. It's really quite fuzzy at times. We've got FSR in full swing, so you've got the shimmery FSR waters. And yeah, it's like, technically from a geometry standpoint, it's quite beautiful. I am curious if they're going to try to do a PS5 Pro enhanced version of this. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what they could do there, I guess, but I don't know if it's going to look much better, because it's still, you know, like, obviously this is not a situation where the performance level is really delivering in a way that is fantastic or feels great. There is HDR support, there is console keyboard and mouse support, and yeah, it's better. It's still not quite what I was sort of hoping for when it comes to performance. But I didn't think that this would magically, you know, kind of fix the performance level. I didn't think that it would, like, magically improve things. And you know what? I will give them props. They have been improving the game to a degree in terms of performance level. It's still kind of abysmal for performance. Like, again, it's better on the PS5 Pro, because obviously there's a little bit of an overhead, but not enough to, like, really radically change the game. I guess if you've been playing it, and you've been kind of enjoying the just slightly above 30 FPS or so performance, this would be seen as a bit of an upgrade for sure. It's just, yeah, if you are looking for that sort of big moment where everything runs better and looks better, you know, obviously this is not that current point. But at the same time, as I said, this is something I think you can appreciate just because it is kind of running a bit better. That is really, really quite nauseating. I'm just going to go ahead and walk again so we can kind of show things off. And yeah, if you're not familiar with Ark, it is a survival game. So you got to deal with conditions, weather, and everything like that. Let's switch over to the the next map here. So as I mentioned, there are a few different setups. We're going to go to Scorched Earth, and we're going to show that off. You can play on a couple different maps. You can do local, you can do online, you can kind of do like a local but dedicated kind of option in terms of, you know, trying to get it to play in different scenarios, and your performance and your mileage is going to vary. This map typically is one that seems to run a little bit better on average, especially when there's storms going on, because the storms sort of clutter how far you can actually see in the distance. And that helps quite a bit, but this also seems to be another map scenario where it is like 50 something FPS, about 52 FPS. It really seems to straddle along that line of performance where it is 52 FPS, which is a lot more bearable in comparison to what we were seeing on the PS5 base model. So that is a bit of an upgrade. And yeah, different terrains for different maps. As I mentioned, this is more of a desert one, that's why it's a Scorched Earth scenario. And you are going to take it in that way too, right? Like, you got to deal with the heat and the different environmental elements, being a survival game, and you'll craft, and you'll build bases, and you'll fight dinosaurs, and mostly what I'm trying to get across is your mileage is going to vary a lot playing this game for how it runs, how it looks, how much the resolution scaling stuff is going on in effect, and how much it's impacting your gameplay. Basically, the Pro, so you know, is just making it look a little clearer, run a little better, and I think at the end of the day, that's what you kind of want. We're kind of close, like, I think the PS6 for sure will run this at 60 FPS with overhead, no problem. But for now, mid-gen wise, it's better, but it's not really at the point where we're going to be like, oh my god, it's running smoothly. But I think this looks fantastic. Like, this is gorgeous, right? Like, it's so realistic looking, and it's been great how they've been redoing all of the maps, remaking them, and kind of trickling them out, and I'm sure we'll do more videos taking a look at the different maps, I think, as they release, assuming people want that kind of thing. And it's mostly this video is to kind of show you the upgrades and the improvements for the PS5 Pro here. And it's like, it's overhead gap that will allow the game to look a little bit better and run a little bit better. And you can see for this map, this is one of my easier going test maps, so the fact that we're still kind of getting like 50-ish FPS sort of shows that, like, across the board, a bump up, but the overhead ceiling still doesn't really seem to be 60 FPS, which can be a bit disappointing for those that were looking for that kind of thing. Yeah, other parts of Ark. So you go in, grab resources, rocks, stuff like that. You can have console commands, as you've been seeing, so you can spawn creatures and stuff like that to make it easier. Play alone, play with others, gather resources to build items, unlock new materials, research new things, build various things within the biomes. You know, structures, and then pens, and then you can tame creatures and fight dinosaurs, and then fight with dinosaurs, and then you can take on giant bosses, and the different maps have different types of creatures and animals and things for you to face off against. I say dinos, but there's really just like a large variety of monstrous creatures that you will come across while you're playing this game. And they all do look really, really good on UE5. Like, this is something that I think a direwolf, are you kidding me? This is, like, pretty future-proofed, gameplay-wise. Like, this is something where I think even when the PS6 comes out down the road, this should still be a pretty, a pretty good-looking game. And maybe it'll finally run well. And then they'll release, or remake it again, or do like a next gen upgrade for it, it'll run worse again. I don't know, we'll have to see what kind of overhead we get at that point down the road, but I am thinking years ahead, right? Like, it's still gonna be a whiles off. But for now, like, I think this looks amazing in terms of like realism and detail. Like, UE5 does magic and work for this game, seriously, like, from a visual standpoint and stuff like that. You can't say that this is a bad looking game outside of the, you know, the visual fuzziness and stuff like that, but like detail wise and that, kind of remarkable. kind of amazing what they were able to actually do with this. And it came out of nowhere too. I thought they would just keep cruising along with the regular version of the game, which we might do a video of as well if you want to see that kind of thing. You let me know. Now we're going to Abberation. So this is another map that is a little demanding.
Come so far.
Yeah, I've come so far, Survivor. Cool, cool, cool. And this one is one that is kind of a little bit more crazy, or a little bit more lost in terms of style and design. But you'll see it's a lot more demanding too. But again, 50 FPS. This one a little bit more struggling to actually get to 52, but you know, hovers around that 50, 51 FPS mark. And then things will tank a lot more as you kind of go through the environment, because as I said, this one kind of a little bit of a Rings of Halo sort of vibe, but you know, very lost kind of world, and then various areas to it. Oh no, that stupid Bob's Tails thing. I don't even know how to turn that off. It's terrible. And then you have to hear this Bob guy talk, and it's like, you know, nobody cares about Bob and his problems, honestly. And his journals and stuff. Well, actually, it's kind of neat because it adds story and stuff like that. You know, the DLC things add like little new like kits and quests and stuff that you can take in. Not trying to knock it too much, but Bob always pops up at the worst times. That is for sure. But this level, a little bit of an interior area, and then you get out and you get like this sort of like overgrown, kind of like lost world, like you're inside the center of the earth kind of thing. You have these crazy mushroom areas, and like it's a pretty neat level, but it is one, as I mentioned, that is technically a lot more demanding, and you're going to see that a lot more in the performance levels as it kind of gets trained. Theoretically, with frame gen, it should be doing quite a lot of work. in terms of making it run better and stuff like that, but like frame gen is you know, it's good, but it's not like some god tier thing that fixes everything, right? That's the problem when you get stuck with FSR, is it's kind of a little bit limiting on your full potential. I do genuinely ponder, oh, that was a brief moment of 60 FPS there. I do genuinely ponder what it would be like with NVIDIA cards on console. I do think we'd actually be getting this looking, like, actually good, and it would be running at smooth 60 FPS or higher. But, you know, we've got AMD cards on console, so you get stuck with FSR. You get what you get, right? Not much you can do about it, but show it off, talk about it, and showcase what it has to offer. And this isn't even, like, this is kind of a best case scenario, too. You gotta remember, as I've mentioned, like, literally I am playing offline. I am playing by myself. I haven't even really, like, I don't have, like, structures going on. I don't have pens of dinos. You know, I don't have crazy chaotic things. I'm not even doing, like, boss fights and stuff like that. Like, this is sort of, again, a very, very best case scenario for how easygoing and easy running it can be on your system. Things can get a lot worse, and you're gonna have to contend with that. But I really am just kind of floored by the level of detail in the environment. I'm actually wondering if I should maybe go back and take a look at the original Ark, because that one would be neat too. The overhead we have here should really smooth that one out to a full 60 FPS. So if you want to see that in action, you know, let me know too, and maybe we'll go back and take a look at the original version of Ark, because that one's kind of neat as well. Like, it's the same game, but with this one being a remake, the visuals and the style of it are a lot different, and it's a lot easier running because, you know, it's was something that was meant for a previous generation. I mean, they have that one running on the Switch, and it's improved a lot. But I like doing these fly-throughs. I don't know if they find, like, you find them kind of a little nauseating because of performance, but I think it's a good way to really kind of push the console a bit more, because you are taking things from an above-ground approach, and you can see all the details of the environment and get a good sense of scope for all the different areas. And technically this should push the frame gen the most, because we're sort of moving with a lot more like data and information going along. And that is the idea of the frame gen, is to create frames where there's not really frames and stuff. Cool vibe though, right? Although I am freezing and dying, and this is a challenging map, so good luck to those that actually enjoy this kind of a death chaos. It's It's a bit much for me, I would say. And then we've got one more map to showcase here. And this one is a bit of a middle ground. So this is the center. The center is neat because it's like a combination of biomes. It's island chains, there is danger, but you get to see different types of locations. So it borrows heavily from the first world, but it's also got like a snowy area, a magma area, and again, 52-ish FPS. Which, if you've been playing on the base PS5, 52-ish FPS is a really nice improvement. So it does seem like that basically is your regular walking around pacing kind of performance level is playing at 52 FPS. It's not perfect, it's not ideal, it will tank to like 30 FPS as you've seen whenever combat goes on, but a little bit of an overhead. Did I expect this? Yeah, basically. Did I want more? Probably, I don't know. Like, honestly, if they are to try and introduce some kind of like lower resolution mode, this game's gonna look even worse, because it's basically like, you know, seas of FSR shimmer. It's essentially something that is like a little rough visually to the eyes already, because, you know, the stuff doesn't work well. It's weird because it's like from a geometry standpoint. Yeah, the beaches look great, the rocks look good, the trees, everything like that. The creatures are fantastic. There's great levels of detail here. Seriously, like, it's impressive, the level of scale and detail in those rock formations. You go and compare this to the older version of the game. It's the complete generational leap, which is what we kind of want. But it's just sort of the performance leaves a lot to be desired, as you've obviously heard me complain this whole time. And I think that's kind of like the big difference here is like whether or not you can stomach that sort of thing. Because obviously, I don't think there's anything that's going to be coming update-wise for the PS5 Pro that's going to make this game look or like, well, run better. Like, maybe they'll up the resolution that this can go to. Maybe there'll be some kind of big FSR advancement down the road. I don't know. Maybe they'll add Pisser into the game. That would be great. But for now, you're kind of, you know, stuck with what this is. And I hope this is kind of a good showcase giving you an idea of kind of the quality experience. Because, like, if you just pause and you look at it, it's great looking, right? I mean, look at the level of detail. The magma, the rocks, the trees, the fauna, the creatures, everything like that. It's just as soon as you go into motion, it's kind of not great. I mean, it runs at 50 FPS even when you stop moving around, but you get what I'm saying, like the techniques and stuff like that. I can't wait to see more games looking like this, and I hope the hardware, or at least our generation technology and software, kind of catches up, because the potential for us to like thoroughly enjoy these breathtaking environments and detailed worlds that look so much closer to realism. They're kind of like within our grasp, but I think they're still a little out of our grasp. And then the fog and stuff like that, the volumetric fog, and waterfalls look terrible. I don't know why water looks so awful. I think it's like a combination of FSR and stuff like that, because it's like the water kind of looks really lovely, but when you really look at it, it's like super shimmery and it doesn't look right. But like the way water behaves and all that is a lot better with UE5 and stuff. It's basically like fully unrealized potential. Is what I say. It's like we're almost punching above our hardware level. And even with the might of the PS5 Pro, Arc still manages to absolutely buckle the console and the platform. Which is kind of funny. And as I said, to me, it was really expected to be like this. I wasn't anticipating it to be like a locked, 60 FPS. But, a guy can dream. A guy can dream about his dino adventures running a little bit better. And I don't know. It's still a pretty cool game. It's still got a neat experience. I know there's tons of people, millions of people to play this game and love it and enjoy what Arc has to offer. So I guess the biggest thing is it's a little bit better. As I said, I'll be, keeping up with things. I'm sure we'll do more updated videos. Maybe check out additional maps if you want to see those things. Make sure you let me know so I know they're worth doing. And if you need cheats, I have a great cheat video that talks about all the different codes and stuff you can use, unlock your trophies easier, and enjoy what the world of Arc has to offer for you. Pretty expansive time.